Happy New Year, everybody. It's Frankie Russo, 77 WABC, my pre-show, number 97. I'm over here hanging out, getting ready. I got so much information. I don't know where to start. I want to start with America's team. Help America's team, help our veterans. Help America's team, help the men and women of the United States Armed Forces fight this post-traumatic stress disorder. It's a debilitating disorder, and quite frankly, last time I checked, it's part of the astronomical amount of suicides that the men and women of the United States Armed Forces are involved in. It is a big problem, and we're trying our best. We're well into the. I'm sorry, it's just been a long week, and I'm just hanging out over here. But we're well into this fundraising. 77. I'm at 77 WABC. Help America, help our veterans, and we're working hard on this fundraiser. I had a reception in December. So you got to go to my Facebook.com/Frankie Russo Show. And click on the icon. You'll get there. We're raising money for the men and women of the United States Armed Forces. We're going to help our veterans. We're going to build a stress reduction biofeedback center. Our funding goal is $50,000, and we'd love you all to be part of it. You got to check it out. Go to Facebook.com/Frankie Russo Show. Click on the icon and check it out. All right, so I'm hanging out. I got my board. I start with the model. This takes me everywhere. Obama, fraudulent selective service card, illegal president, Clinton Foundation, attached to the Clinton Foundation, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Iranian Global Terror Network, the Iranian surrogates, and then we go to work. So now, I'm just looking at all this data here. I got a lot. I don't know where to start. I was looking at this one I found interesting. I found this one. This is Republicans. This is the Newsmax. Republicans slam John Kerry. All right, they're all in it together anyway. For suggesting Iran could bypass new visa rules. Republicans railed at Secretary of State John Kerry's, this is the Newsmax, Secretary of State John Kerry's assurances of help to Iran to sidestep new visa restrictions, accusing him of undermining Congress. They're accusing him of that. Okay. Instead of bending over backwards to try to pacify the Iranian regime, the UN needs to be holding it accountable for its recent missile tests, its continued support for terrorism, and its wrongful imprisonment of Americans, claims House Foreign Affairs Committee Chairman Ed Royce. Oh, Ed Royce. He wrote the letter with Congresswoman Ross Lethan. Remember the letter we've been talking about every other week? He wrote, and she wrote, Chairwoman Emeritus, the letter to John Kerry about the Iranian, North Korea, Syria Non-Proliferation Act. and how the bomber administration is supposed to be reporting every 6 months to the House Foreign Affairs Committee on violators of the sanctions. Who are violating the sanctions? Well, based on the letter, it was a self-imposed deadline from 6 months to a year, according to Chairman Ed Ross and Chairwoman Emeritus Ross Lethan from Florida. Ed Ross is from California, Congressman from California. And in addition, this self-imposed 1 year went de facto over at least 3 years, claiming back to 2012. If I remember correctly, 2011 to 2012. And who was Secretary of State in 2011, 2012? Hillary Clinton. Gee whiz. Golly gee. Why am I not shocked? So, de facto, in other words, Iran had a de facto sanction relief of over 3 years. De facto sanction relief. They didn't report to the House Foreign Affairs Committee on the violators of the sanctions, and if the sanctions were violated. So therefore, Iran had sanction relief even before the deal. Crazy stuff. So, to move this forward, at issue are tightened security requirements for America's visa waiver program. Do you remember the concerns with, like, for example, the Paris attacks, the visa waiver program? They're able to come right to the United States. So, under the changes in the newly signed omnibus spending bill, that $1.1 trillion atrocity, people from those countries who traveled to Iran, Iraq, Syria, and Sudan in the past 5 years must obtain visas to enter the United States. Tehran threw a hissy fit, complaining those charges violate the terms of the nuclear deal, which says the United States and other world powers will refrain from any policy intended to adversely affect naturalization of trade and economic relations with Iran. So Kerry, in a December 19th letter to his Iranian counterpart Mohammad Zarif. Oh, gee whiz, golly gee. Who's Mohammad Zarif? Remember, I go back to the model. Oh, Alevi Foundation gave $1.4 million to the Blind Sheikh's Mosque, vis-a-vis the 650 Fifth Avenue case. 650 Fifth Avenue case. Oh! The Shah owned it, the Shah of Iran. He was thrown in exile. We talk about this every other week because this is statistically significant information, data. The Shah of Iran owned the building. He got thrown in exile. The mullahs took it over. They had this big Persian foundation. I can't even pronounce the name. But things got a little crazy for the mullahs because they're trying to go under the radar because of all the stuff they were perpetrating on this great nation, killing Marines in Beirut, holding Americans hostage, and all the other stuff that they did down the pipeline. So they got this Persian foundation, which pretty much oversaw the weapons of mass destruction program, all of the different, the long-term ballistic missiles, and all the different weapons of mass destruction that Iran is perpetrating. So, remember, like, when I first started with this pre-show and I was talking about the Kelly Moore article. Remember that? I was talking about the Kelly Moore article. The Kelly Moore article, she's a former, if I'm not mistaken, district attorney of the Southern District. I got to check that out. but she wrote an article for the Lewis and Clark Law Review Journal. And she basically talked about basically FBI investigations pre 9/11 and post 9/11, and tried to see the significance of both and what's what if there's anything good, bad, or something that we can learn from it. And she had a lot of data in there about the 1990s and the early 2000s and all the FBI Title III surveillances and all the work that the FBI did. It was a great article. And in there, she talks about the Al-Raini, Brooklyn illegal money transmitting ring that the FBI infiltrated, and then the FBI had garnered a Al-Raini informant they had sent this Iranian informant all the way out to Yemen. Remember we talked about Mohammed al-Mawad, millions of dollars to Al-Qaeda and Hamas from the Blind Sheikh's Mosque and all these other mosques out to Yemen, and he's this terrorist financier, and he indicated to the Al-Raini informant that I'm telling you, this is how this stuff is connected. He intimated to the Al-Raini informant that there was a Brooklyn ice cream parlor. Is one like he asked because this Iranian informant asked Mohammed al-Mawad for a list of where he's getting his money from. Right? So he gave him a list of some of the individuals, because not only was he going out there, but he was also bringing him an American Muslim, Fugazi. It was a sting operation, which eventually happened, and it further put Mohammed al-Mawad behind the 8 ball. But that's a side thing. What's really interesting in the whole thing, when they got in touch with the owner through Mohammed al-Mawad from Yemen, when they got in touch with the owner of this Brooklyn ice cream parlor, who had upwards of $20 million in his bank account, with a small ice cream parlor on the corner of Flatbush Avenue, Atlantic Avenue in Brooklyn, they got in touch with this guy, and he was the Al-Raini FBI informant was talking to him, and he was saying, we can't talk like this anymore because we feel that the FBI is close. We can't send any more money out we can't do this illegal money transmitting anymore. That's not the way to go. He said this is how good the FBI is. They said to him, something? We can do this. We're going to do this through the diplomats. So this is where I'm pointing toward the 650 Fifth Avenue case, because with the Alevi Foundation, Assa Corporation, and Bank Melli of Iran that own interests in this building, there were in other words, the Iranian diplomats entered the jurisdiction of the United States and became executive directors of the Alevi Foundation. The Alevi Foundation was part of that terrorist enterprise that owned that 650 Fifth Avenue building, and the court papers, judge's decision, Catherine Forrest, ruled that the Iranian government is controlling the Alevi Foundation. The Iranian government is controlling Assa Corporation, Bank Melli of Iran, and they're proliferators of weapons of mass destruction, sending hundreds of millions of dollars, according to the United States Treasury Department, to Hamas, Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, Iranian Quds Force, Special Forces, Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, General Soleimani, the whole thing. But the crazy thing about it is, he said the new way is through the diplomats, and in pops Mohammed Zarif, Iranian ambassador to the United Nations, executive director of Our Lady Foundation from 2002 to 2007, according to the Weekly Standard. Crazy stuff, right? Now, this trader, John Kerry, same thing. Adopted foreign national like Hillary Clinton send a letter to Mohammed Zarif and suggested the administration could simply bypass the rules, bypass these new these new rules that the Congress invoked in the laws. These are the lawmakers. These are the legislators. I am also confident, he wrote to the National Iranian American Council, another fraud organization. I'm also confident that the recent changes in visa requirements passed in Congress, which the administration has the authority to waive, will not in any way prevent us from meeting our nuclear deal commitments. We don't even know if they signed the freaking deal, Iran. And we will implement them so as not to interfere with legitimate business interests of Iran. So you guys could become a superpower and get into the OPEC and do your 1 million barrels a day of oil and garner hundreds of millions and billions of dollars, and you could fund your weapons of mass destruction program, from the long-term ballistic missiles to those missiles underground. And he also went on to say, Kerry, he also assured Mohammed Zarif. This Zarif was educated. He's a slick piece of work, slick piece of work. I'm not he's from the secular side. So the Obama administration, that those think tank geniuses sit back in the State Department and they say, yeah, we're going to do business with Zarif. He's not a mullah. He's a smart guy. He's educated in America, and we're gonna work with Zarif. He don't wanna bomb us. That whack job Khomeini wants to do the thing on us. Right? They're laughing at us. So Kerry assured Zarif that America would adhere to the full measure of our commitments, and floated several alternative options to ease the impact on Iran from changes to the visa program, including waiving the new requirements. This is a Fox News article. Fox News, I think Newsmax, but this is Newsmax. This is published by Newsmax, but they're talking about, as Fox News notes, the new legislation does include a provision allowing the Homeland Security Secretary to waive requirements if the Secretary determines this is in the law enforcement or national security interests of the United States. Sick! They got 72, we spoke about this weeks ago, they got 72 Department of Homeland Security employees on terror watch lists. We're going to get into this. This is crazy. Congressman Kevin McCarthy from California, raised the concern about a possible blanket waiver to accommodate Iran's complaints, which was never Congress's intent. Contrary to what the Secretary of State seems to be saying to the Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Zarif, who at one time was Iran's ambassador to the United Nations, now Zarif is the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Foreign Minister of Iran, this guy is huge. It was not and has never been Congress's intent, according to Congressman McCarthy. And he went on to say the point of the legislation was to strengthen security and keep the American people safe from terrorism and from foreign travelers who potentially pose a threat to our homeland security. In addition, he added, this is right in this article, instead of undermining congressional intent regarding the visa waiver program, the White House should instead focus on Iran's repeated violations of the UN Security Council's bans on missile tests. Iran's unwillingness to follow these international agreements should be a red flag that the Iranian nuclear deal isn't worth the paper it's written on. Bloomberg News went on to say, In February, Iran will have parliamentary elections and elections for a powerful assembly of experts and committee of clerics that would choose the next supreme leader of Iran after the Ayatollah passes on, dies. If anti-deal elements win those elections, the future of the nuclear deal will be dim. The factors explain why Kerry has been willing to overlook Iran's own provocations while trying to mitigate what Iran sees as provocations from the United States Congress. They also explain why Iran seems so intent to provoke the U.S. at the moment it's supposed to implement the deal to which it just agreed. The revelation of the Kerry letter comes in the wake of Iranian officials' accusations that the United States is running aloof of the nuclear deal, including complaints from the Deputy Foreign Minister of Iran. So, and you got here, and then we got here, to move this a step further, according to Iran has more missiles than it could hide. According to Yahoo News, Tehran, Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps has so many missiles they don't know where to hide them. A senior commander said in this past, wait, let me get the date. This past week, the United States have threatened to impose fresh sanctions. We lack enough space in our stockpiles to house our missiles, according to the General Hassan, the Revolutionary Guard Corps deputy, as a row with the U.S. over Iran's ballistic missile program deepened. Hundreds of long tunnels are full of missiles ready to fly to protect their integrity, independence, and freedom. They told worshippers in Tehran, promising to never stop developing. Wow, this is crazy. To stop developing the defense deterrent. Yeah, right. This is the general, the deputy general of. This is a general of the Iranian Military Guard Corps, General Hassan Salmani, not General Soleimani. This is General Hassan Salmi. He's the Iran's Military Guard Corps. He's the deputy. Hundreds of long tunnels are full of missiles ready to fly to protect the country. Wow, Iran. Iranian state television aired in October unprecedented footage of such an underground missile base. We talked about that, I think, last week on the pre-show. This General Hassan Salmani, he's a deputy general of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. The general's comments came after reports that the U.S. had planned but later shelved to unveil a fresh round of sanctions following two recent missile tests by the Islamic Republic of Iran. The muted financial penalties on companies and individuals in Iran, Hong Kong, and United Arab Emirates for apparent links to Tehran's missile program. They also put in jeopardy a landmark deal struck in July between Iran and 6 world powers that we spoke about. The Iranian president denounced the U.S. moves as hostile and illegal interventions that must be met with a response. Wow. This is what we're dealing with over here. So, we got that one. And then we got this other. John Kerry says, this is what John Kerry says. According to CNN, Kerry tells Congress to hold off on new sanctions for now. This was like the beginning of December 10th. He says he doesn't trust Iran, vows it won't get nuclear weapons, and believes past rhetoric by its leaders threatening annihilation of Israel is unacceptable and kind of insane. So why is Kerry so adamant about getting time to try to negotiate an agreement that would further curb Iran's nuclear ambitions in exchange for lifting crippling economic sanctions? Crazy stuff. He went to the hearings at the House Foreign Affairs Committee, which is chaired by Ed Ross and Congressman Ed Ross and Congresswoman. She's a chairman emeritus of Ross Lethan of Florida. They had these hearings in December, and defending the international negotiations, whatever, this Fugazi agreement, which quite frankly they're saying that Iran didn't even sign. And Kerry tried to reassure that he shares their mistrust of Iranian right, while asking that they halted the drive for new sanctions for now to give negotiations. So basically his language is to appease us. He really doesn't believe it, because if he believed it, he wouldn't have done what he wouldn't have suggested what he was suggesting the end of December, which was this getting around this the new visa rules. December 22nd was published by Newsmax. So this is just another false flag, Fugazi, ruse, subterfuge by the Obama administration, the Obama State Department, headed by John Kerry. Everybody's. I just. According to. Republican Jeff Duncan of South Carolina described the U.S. position with Iran as giving Iran the benefit of the doubt by not requiring the dismantling of all centrifuges needed to enrich uranium for nuclear weapons. You know what's really crazy? Now, this whole thing it's hidden secret, the negotiations, the secret deals, and all that. So I was listening to a Fox News interview. I was listening to a Fox News interview with this gentleman he's a former State Department spokesman. And this is what he was claiming. Now, I'm not going to go deep into the weeds what he was saying, but to address further what this legislator, Republican Congressman Jeff Duncan of South Carolina was claiming, that his pushback to Kerry, because Kerry obviously, he's saying, well, I don't trust Iran, but meanwhile it's crazy, based on their actions, you wouldn't believe that, right? He described the U.S. position with Iran as giving Iran the benefit of the doubt by not requiring dismantling of all centrifuges needed to enrich uranium for nuclear weapons. Now, according to so for example, the centrifuges. According to this interview I saw at Fox News, there's no verification, there's no baseline. So, based on what the State Department spokesperson was saying on Fox News, this thing with the centrifuges, say Iran tells us that there's 10,000, 11,000 centrifuges, and it's, well, they're gone now. We dismantled all the centrifuges. They're gone. It's gone now, and we gave all uranium all to whatever the amount of uranium it was, we gave it all to Russia. And that's another thing that came out, that Russia got uranium too, right? Then Russia got 20% of American uranium with the Clintons, thanks to Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, the Clinton Foundation, and Obama. Obama worked out the deal with them, and Hillary Clinton sits at the Secretary of State's position. She's sitting and okaying at the United States Foreign Investment Committee, okaying the deal. So with all that going on over there, we got Putin making oil deals with Iran, billions of dollars in 2014, right? And now, according to this Eric Brennell from the State Department, he's claiming that there's no verification. So there's no baseline. So in other words, Iran says, listen, All my uranium's gone for whatever the amount was. It's gone. Russia has it. We had 10,000. We had 10,000. Then Curry go, great, unbelievable. The deal is working. And then they'll say, yeah, and we got 10,000, 11,000 centrifuges of. The centrifuges are gone too. Great. The deal's working. We have no baseline. We have no verification of nothing, according to the State Department spokesperson on the Fox News. Wow. So this is why people are like, what's going on over here? Now that was on Fox News, all right? Crazy, crazy, crazy. So, that being said, Homeland Security Advisory System. Now, I'm going to kick to some other stuff, other letters, other articles and letters. Here's an article, here's a letter I'm going to kick to right now. Matter of fact, I'm going to read it. This is written in June 13th, 2012. I got so much of it, I'm just going to start, right? It was sent by, at the time, Michelle Bachmann. She was the congresswoman in Minnesota. Trent Franks from Arizona. Congressman Louis Gohmert. Congresswoman Lynn Westmoreland. And Congressman Thomas Rooney. Sent this letter. At the time, Peter King was the chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee. And Janet Napolitano was secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. So they sent this letter to Charlie Edwards, Acting Inspector General, Department of Homeland Security. Dear General Edwards, June 13, 2012. As you may know, information has recently come to light that raises serious questions about the involvement of organizations and individuals associated with Muslim Brotherhood in Department of Homeland Security activities and policies. Given that the United States government has established in federal court, Holy Land Foundation trial, that the Muslim Brotherhood's mission in the United States is destroying the Western civilization from within, a practice that the Brotherhood call civilization jihad, we believe that the apparent involvement of those with such ties raises serious security concerns about that warrant your urgent attention. Now, this is 2012. It came out, and I spoke about this all weeks. I got some more. I'll give you more examples of the 72 Department of Homeland Security employees on terror watch lists. That according to the congressman from Boston, what's that guy's name again? Damn, I forgot his name. Lynch, I think it is. Stephen Lynch. Congressman. Yeah, he's a Democrat, and he claims that it's unconscionable what's going on with this Department of Homeland Security. According to the Muslim Brotherhood of America, within a product of the Center for Security Policy, it's a tremendous think tank on homeland intelligence and global and worldwide intelligence, specifically jihad. They got a pretty interesting take on things. The Department of Homeland Security has utilized in a key advisory role 3 individuals with extensive ties to Muslim Brotherhood, other Islamist organizations and causes: Dawah, Magahid, Mohammed Al-Abari, and Mohammed Magid. The problematic nature of this arrangement is evident from, for example, the use of Ayman Magid by the Department of Homeland Security, among other federal agencies, as a liaison with the Muslim American community insofar as he is the president of the largest Muslim Brotherhood front in America, the Islamic Society of North America, Holy Land Foundation trial. In this regard, we note that the Supreme Guide of the International Muslim Brotherhood, Mohammed Badi, in September 2010 openly called for jihad by all the Arab and Muslim peoples against the United States. As members of Departments of Homeland Security Advisory Committee, Countering Violent Extremism Working Group, and in case of Mohammed Al-Abari as a member of the advisory committee itself, these three have been in a position to exercise considerable influence insofar as 5 other individuals of the committee's Countering Violent Extremism Symposium out of the White House appeared to share their sympathy for Islamist causes, in addition to sharing some of their associations with organizations that are advancing such agendas inside the United States. Now, to cut to the chase, here's something that I found interesting. They also wrote a letter to the State Department, Deputy Inspector General of the State Department. A personal intervention by Secretary Clinton that allowed a prominent Muslim Brotherhood leader, Tariq Ramadan, to enter the United States, overturning a policy of a previous administration that precluded him from doing so. Mr. Ramadan has reportedly used the visits thus made possible to engage in the Brotherhood calls civilization jihad in the United States. Recruitment, indoctrination, fundraising. This is like sending in, what's his name? That Sheikh Satur from Yemen in the 90s and early 2000s, and sending in these other sheiks, coming in, going into the blind sheiks mosque. So this is like history repeating itself, quite frankly. This is great stuff, by the way. I want to go over this more. So I'm going to check this out. I'm going to kick now. This is great stuff. I don't mean to cut this off, but I got to get ready for the live show. So much information. I only have a half hour, so I try to get as much as I can. This is the Frankie Russo Show. You got to help America's team, help our veterans. You got to stay with me. This is the Frankie Russo pre-show. Yeah. I'll see you in a few.